and welcome to Up the Turnpike, your source for New York Islanders content, both here on YouTube and over on Patreon, where we have our podcast twice a week, a dedicated Discord server, as well as a Friday six-pack, as well as Eagle or Duck after every game, as well. Sign up today at patreon.com/uptheturnpike. In today's video, we're going to briefly talk about the resurfaced trade rumors surrounding Anaheim Ducks center/forward Trevor Zegras. Now, this is coming to the forefront again because this isn't anything new. Trevor Zegras has been effectively on the trade block for a while now, but it's coming back up to the forefront mainly because Chicago Hockey Now is talking about how multiple insiders, including David Pagnotta and Elliot Friedman, are reporting that Chicago is upping their search for a second line center. Not talks, right? There's not communications between teams directly saying we want this player, but their search has intensified, maybe as it stands right now, to get that second line center. And one of the names that comes up specifically in this piece is Trevor Zegras, who is indeed a center, although has played on the wing for a while with the Anaheim Ducks. And now, obviously, we're not a Chicago Blackhawks hockey show, so we're not going to talk about the Blackhawks. But we're going to talk about these New York Islanders. And Trevor Zegras really kind of fits the mold of what Lou Lamoriello has been trying to do for the last couple of years, going back as far as when he picked, well, far makes it sound like a decade ago, but going back as far as when he picked up Alex Romanov. Lou Lamoriello is looking for younger players to inject new life into this roster because, as you're probably well aware, the Islanders roster, while no longer the oldest by any stretch, is still older than average per se. And I understand it's very marginal, but still, they're a little bit older. And some of these players are getting even older. That's just how time works. So guys like Brock Nelson, Kyle Palmieri are going to be transitioning out of this team sooner rather than later. And so getting in some of this younger blood, like someone as Trevor Zegras, would fit that bill. Now, Trevor Zegras right now is not necessarily doing too hot. He has 2 points. Currently playing as I'm recording this against our New York Islanders, has 2 points in 8 games this season. Not great, -4, and is getting somewhere around 17 minutes of ice time. But we know the quality, and so do the Ducks, know the quality that this player possesses. 15 points in 31 games last year, not great, effectively half point per game player. But we've seen him score 23 goals, 65 points in 81 games. Like this is when he was much younger, obviously. This is a player who can operate in a top 6, which is exactly what our New York Islanders are looking for, right? The New York Islanders need help in their top 6. Even before considering Anthony Duclair is out injured, just assuming Anthony Duclair is even healthy, the Islanders still need help in their top 6. With all due respect to Maxim Tsiplikov, I don't think he's a top 6 player. Bottom 6 guy, like third line guy, absolutely, for sure. But second line, I think he's a little bit out of his depth right now, and it's maybe causing a little bit more regression than we should expect from him at this point. But I just want to bring up their line so we can kind of talk through this real quick and where Trevor Zegras may or may not fit into this equation. So I'm going to bring up Daily Hockey, Daily Face-Off here to help us out. So you can see our top line, Simon Holmstrom, does not belong. I know that Patrick Roy has said he's a first round talent. We believe in him. That's great. I love all that platitudes, but I've seen him play. You've seen him play. He is not a top line player. He's just not. Bottom 6, middle 6 even, fine. Maxim Tsiplikov, not as well. But when you bring Anthony Duclair in, that shifts everyone down. But still, it still leaves a gap here with the Maxim Tsiplikov specifically on that second line, which I don't think necessarily belongs. I think he's more of a third liner, which would allow us to shift more priorities down as well, right? Case Zekas can go back. Hudson Fasching may or may not come out. He might fit on that fourth line. Pierre Engvall might have to go back to Bridgeport because he's just not working out. But that's fine. But our strength is more, how do I say this? Our human resources are managed more appropriately if you bring in someone like Trevor Zegras to sit on that second line with someone like Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri, and maybe eventually transition to center because that is naturally where he plays. That would be ideal for us. And then you consider his age, right? Like this is a guy who is currently 23 years old, will turn 24 at the end of this season. Ideal. He's a New York native, although not Long Island. Like Bedford is a little bit more north than Long Island. You obviously know that. But he fits exactly what Lou Lamoriello is looking to do with this team, and to bringing in this younger talent to bolster the squad, not only today, but over the years to come. Again, a la Alex Romanov. Now, the sticking point is obviously going to be, what's it going to cost to get Trevor Zegras? Because we don't have a lot. We just don't. There's not a lot of value in the Islanders roster or in their prospect pool. So how are they going to even pull this off? Now, I'm going to pitch some suggestions here. Feel free to crap on them if you will. I totally understand, because when it comes to trade valuations or trade proposals, none of us have any friggin' clue what it's going to take to get this done. We think we've come up with the proper value, but we have no idea. So feel free to add your own, whatever you think it's going to take to get Trevor Zegras. But for me, it starts right away with their first round pick next year. Minimum. And even then, I'm not guaranteed that the Anaheim Ducks are, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Dying. That's the one. Dying to get a first round pick. They're past that part of the rebuild, really. Now they're trying to take the next step into being a little bit more competitive. And first round picks don't necessarily do that. Now you can always flip that and get other assets, but I think you know where I'm going with this. But if we're looking at the Islanders, it starts with a first round pick at minimum. That's probably our most valuable asset for someone like the Anaheim Ducks. And then from there, it gets really dicey to find the rest of the value. I don't think that they'd be interested in some of the pieces that we have on the roster to move off. Maybe they'd be interested in someone like Oliver Wahlstrom. They think they can turn more out of him. Maybe they can do something. But for us, you're not adding a whole lot of value to this trade package. The first round pick is still doing a whole lot of lifting. You add Oliver Wahlstrom, you're probably going to have to do a little bit more. You're probably going to have to add someone like probably an Alex Jeffries. Or if they're really into someone at some point goes off, maybe a Samuel Bolduc really shines at the AHL level later on in the year. That's someone maybe they go for. Why would they? They have Pavel Mintyukov and Olin Zellweger. Defense isn't necessarily a problem for them. And they can find like defensive defensemen, which is not really what Samuel Bolduc does. So again, talking to myself into corners here. But that's the problem when it comes to trade valuations for Trevor Zegras, for the New York Islanders. I think it goes with first round pick, Oliver Wahlstrom, and maybe Isaiah George. Something along those lines might get it done, because we have to remember that Trevor Zegras hasn't been performing very well over the last couple of years with the Anaheim Ducks. He has been in the rumor mill for a couple of years now. So that valuation is not at its peak. It's not. If he was performing at a 60 to 70 point pace right now, still early, but if he was doing that, maybe the valuation would be at its peak. But he's not, so the valuation is not. We might be able to get him for cheaper. And with our interest in this type of player, I think it would be the right time if he is in fact on the market. So that's my final thoughts on the Islanders vis-a-vis any sort of Trevor Zegras rumor that, again, has not been linked to the Islanders, but just talking through what could happen. If you have any thoughts on the matter, add them in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you have not already. And thank you.